how, but you've never really done a role like this. Can you talk about getting involved and what led you to this?
Well, this is entirely to do with Matthew Vaughan's rather subversive imagination, because, you know, he basically came to me because I was the last person who would ever imagine doing all this stuff. He likes to do that, and if you look at Stardust, he gets Robert De Niro to play the menacing pirate king, and so far it's not entirely something you wouldn't expect. And then, of course, as soon as he gets behind closed doors, he's a cross-dresser. And so he just likes to take what you expect and then flip it. And he does it not only in the way he casts films, but he also does it with his storylines.
Yeah.
He just likes to take something, set it up, and then completely turn it on its head. So I'm here by the grace of that, really.
Nice. Now with you two, you're taking on some fun, working with this amazing director, working with this amazing actor. What was your taking? Tell us about your characters and your involvement in this world.
So I play Eggsy, who is a young man from South London, from quite a poor background. Had a loving family, but as you'll see when you see the film, through actually my father trying out for Kingsman, yeah, I was robbed of him. My character was robbed of him. So he's kind of been led down this path that it possibly isn't the most sensible. He's a rule breaker. He's not afraid to misbehave just to survive, really, and maybe just to have a little bit of fun too. And one day, one of his misdemeanors kind of caused Colin's character Harry to have to come and rescue him. And that is when Harry offers him the opportunity to try out for a vacancy at KINGSMAN the Secret Service. So he turns up, and whereas he is a sort of rough and ready lad, he finds that the 7 or so other candidates are all quite well to do, quite well spoken, far more traditionally Kingsman material, aside from one who is the only one who really makes any time to be very friendly for him, and is the only, well, one of two girls, and that's Sophie.
Yes, so I play Roxy, and as Taron says, I've come from like a very traditional background for Kingsman. I've been well educated, had some military training, things like that. But unlike everyone else, I'm a woman, and Kingsman has never had a successful female candidate before. I'm potentially being a bit of a laughing stock for all the other older traditional Kingsmen, and Taron and I, Eggsy and Roxy, they play kind of the new generation that's coming into Kingsman. It's getting more flexible, it's becoming more of a 21st century organisation as opposed to something that's kind of founded on something much more traditional and male dominated. So it's through our
We're the two black sheep,
yeah.
aren't we?
We're the underdogs.
We're the underdogs.
And we stick together through that.
Yeah, quite.
Underdogs are good.
Yeah.
I'm happy with
We
underdogs.
love an underdog.
Yes, yes. Now, can you talk about working with this director? Because he's an expert with this kind of action. What did it take for you guys to get involved with this kind of intense, all these great scenes, which we've seen some of in the trailer? It looks amazing.
I mean, working with Matthew is. It was my first film, so my first experience of making a film was with him, and I think I was spoilt, really. You know, the wonderful language that he has developed. You know, you recognise his films from one to another because of the distinctive style, and you know the tone of them, and what it takes to actually make those films is his incredible level of specificity. He's so detailed, and has a very specific idea about what he wants to achieve, and then he assembles the people who he thinks will best help him arrive at that end. But equally, I found my experience of it, that he was very, very open to letting me try different things, and I hope Jane Goldman, his co-writer, doesn't mind, but I kind of play with bits of dialogue sometimes, you know, and yeah, I think I was spoiled, really, to be working with someone like him.
What about you? What was the training like? Because this is intense.
It was hard, but like a lot of very difficult things, that if you're lucky, you commit to it long enough, you find yourself benefiting from it, and I did. I to my immense surprise, I loved it, and it was one of the things that it was not only a warning, but it was part of the temptation, really. We met quite a long time before this all started. The script was still a work in progress. And he just wanted to check in with me as to whether I was up for it in principle. He showed me the comic book. There was no script yet, so just to give me an idea. And would I be prepared to, you know, take a bit of pain? And so he put me with this elite group. I mean, all of us. They were like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I mean, they all had superpowers of their own. They were all the absolute top of their field. You had an Olympic gold medalist gymnast, a multi-world champion Thai boxer, Jackie Chan's trainer. You know, these were the special forces guy, the armaments guys. They were the very best that you will find, and they were on
James Bond's stunt driver.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Wow.
we were spoiled, and they kind of moulded us, didn't they, from the kind of the thespish clay we were into the fighting machines we needed to be.
And we felt, I mean, I don't want to speak for both of us, but that wasn't my history, doing anything like that.
No,
And I
no,
felt
no,
so
absolutely not.
completely out of my depth, and thought that I would never gain the respect of these guys, and never be able to move my lower body for a start. I mean, you know, most guys use their lower body mostly to get from the office to the car and back. And, and to, you know, a month of just squats and lunges and all these things you don't really want to have to even acknowledge. To get it moving and then get into something which is starting to work. And then to get a sense of camaraderie with these amazing people. Was one of the most thrilling things I've ever done by the time we did it.
Well, how much does it help you, the performance? Actually kind of experiencing it and doing it on your own. Does that just naturally make the character work for you?
It helped. I mean, in a way, a lot of the stunt stuff we did was relatively early in the shoot for me. And I missed it terribly. I mean, to go back and just act and find myself just pointing my suit at people again, it seemed terribly dull. I mean, stuff I'd always done. I wanted
Pointing my suit at something is about the most reductive thing I've
Yeah,
ever
well, I mean, it's perfectly literally.
Oscar-winning Colin Firth, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
know.
It's. I actually think I've stolen that. I think it's a Robert Mitchum quote. But you know, I was back to being the tailor. But if you've been that physical for that long, it probably does inform the way you carry yourself for a while, and it, you know, grounds you a little bit. It's going to have an effect, so I'm sure, and it gives you some confidence.
Okay.
You know, when you shoot the scenes in which this guy thinks you're just a rather effete middle-aged man in a pinstripe suit, and you know differently, it does help to know that you've shot those scenes. You know,
Nice.
You've done it. It's under your belt.
What about you? How much of the action are you involved in, and how much did that kind of affect your performance?
Well, I didn't have half as much training as these guys. I think I had a few sessions because originally we were going to show more of the physical training for the recruits, I think, at one point. So my first training session involved a few forward rolls. And these guys are going to look at me with daggers when I say that was the only thing I did. But that really was one of my only training sessions. And then I spent a lot of time in some harnesses and doing some gymnastics and core stability for part of the film, and in something called the Vomit Comet as well, which really, really does what it says on the tin. So I kind of felt a bit even with these guys after that, because I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
You went through the mill on that
I really
one. That
did.
was really
And
hard.
Mark-
And you did vomit, didn't you, at one point?
I
Very
came
near.
very close,
Very
very close.
I remember walking onto set that day, and Sophie, who's normally, you know, of a rather cheery, friendly disposition, just looked like she was ready to kill someone like her character
Yeah,
could do.
and I remember Mark Strong was filming something afterwards, and he was about to go into the training for this Vomit Comet thing. He was like, "Soph, what's it like?" I was like, "I just can't tell you. It's something you can experience, and that's it." So
Do you like the whole Comic-Con experience?
This?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's my first time. I love
Is it your
so
first
far.
time?
Yeah.
What have you seen? I mean, are you guys kind of just going from hotel press junket to press junket, or are you planning to see anything?
Well, all we're doing is talking to you guys. You know, we
Okay.
go from here to here. We haven't been on the floor. I actually haven't even been in the street, you know, to bump into anybody. I usually at least walk on the streets and kind of freak people out and rub shoulders with them. They go, "That guy?" But no, I haven't done that. But I actually told Sofia this morning, I said she should take the time, go in there and walk the floor, because this is probably the last time she's ever going to be able to do that in comfort. Once this movie comes out, you'll never be able to go in there again.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing really.
It's
the movie
sad
was
to
made,
say, you'll have to put a mask on or something to go in there. But if you want to go in there just as yourself, this is the last time you'll ever have that chance.
Yeah.
I'll try to go to the floor later.
Yeah.
Well,
I can't wait.
let's talk about this film. It looks amazing, first of all. What is your role and how are you involved in this world?
I play Gazelle, who's Valentine's henchman. Valentine played by Sam Jackson, and I'm basically a double amputee who has deadly weapons, you know, who has deadly blades, and I'm basically his killing machine, you know, and I literally kill everyone that gets in the way of our very precious project to save the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is this role like for you? What drew you to this? You played everything. What
Well,
about this role?
I mean, I love Bond movies forever, and
Yeah.
you know, this is Matthew's basic take on a Bond movie, where you know, these guys are more or less knights of the Round Table who are 007 killers, and when one of them dies, they have to be replaced. So each member gets to nominate a person that they want to replace that person, and they go through a training regimen, and that's what they're doing. So if you sat and watched a Bond film, all the gadgets and all that stuff, you know, and you wanted to be in one of those, this was the ideal opportunity for me. I love those movies, and I choose movies like that a lot of times. Movies that I go see, movies that I want to see me in, movies that I would have gone to see when I was a kid. So here I am. I don't have the gadgets and all the other stuff, but I have her,
I know, right?
and you know, I'm the bad guy.
I
So
think every guy
can't get
will
any
be
better than
jealous
that.
of you right now.
Yeah.
She's just beautiful.
yeah, I don't need gadgets.
Yeah. No. How tough are you? How tough do you get to get? Like seriously, how mean
It's
are you?
indescribable. You have to watch it because it's beyond. Like, it's nothing I've ever seen before. Really, and I've never seen a character like that
Let me
before.
think.
Really.
Let me see.
Really.
She could, Lara Croft, jacked. She'd kill Lara Croft. Charlie's Angels, no sweat. Kill all of them.
I mean, the very simple fact that I'm the double amputee with
Yeah,
these
yeah.
are the weapon I use is like quite already something very different.
Yeah.
It's
That's
stretched.
fascinating.
She's pretty special.
Do you now? We were talking a little bit about the Comic-Con experience. What do you hope that audiences will find when they see the footage and when they kind of get a taste of it?
I just want them to be anxious to see the rest of the story. That they see something that they identify as in, wow, this is very Bond-esque, but it's kind of irreverent and a little more bloody, and you know, it's louder, the music's different, the clothes are different, the people are hipper, but it's, you know, going to be a great movie-going experience. That's what you want, and that's why we're here, to tell an exciting story and to get people excited about it.
What about you? What did you learn from this guy? He's amazing. What did you learn from him?
Well, you know, it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing for me to step into this world, you know, and you know, I just walked in the room, and the first thing he says to me when we met is, "Oh, my killer," and he gave me the biggest hug ever. And then we read together, you know, the script, and then I met him again on set, and he was, you know,
Don't worry, I got you.
right.
and every morning, you know, he'll give me just a really warm hug, and then throughout the day working with him was absolute bliss. Like, he would stay with me, give me the eyeliner, you know, even when he wasn't like, or he was completely off camera, he would bend, and he had tricks actually. So, and extremely generous and really, you know, sharing and giving, and really thank you for that. Yeah, whatever.
You are one of the nicest guys. You are really a genuinely nice
the
guy.
best.
And you
He's the
play.
best.
I just watched True Romance.
Oh,
I
did
forgot
you?
you were in that.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's always played these just massive badasses that you do not fuck with.
Hey,
I love that. Why? Do you ever want to play just a nice guy, like, you know, just?
I played a couple nice guys in my life. 187, I'm a really nice guy. Changing Lanes, really nice guy. Black Snake Moan, really
Oh,
nice
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
I love that movie.
You know, every now and then, you know, you throw them in there. People just don't see a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's something about a guy with an edge.
Do you think people just automatically, if the word motherfucker is used in a film, they think, well, we need Sam Jackson because no one can
Well,
say it like him?
I'm sure there's a standard that's been set. You know, they go, well, that's about a 4 on the Samuel Jackson scale. You know? You bring that up to at least 6. Yeah, that's all.
I like how you have your own scale. No one else can have that.
No.
No, let's talk about the action, because this sounds like obviously a very intensive action. What was the training for you guys? I mean, being involved in this, and What do you?
Fortunate for me, I have her.
That's true.
All I had to do was learn my lines. Now, as for training,
He watched. He trained watching. I think. No, but I did a lot of. I come from a dance background, so it was kind of like I thought it was going to be easier than I thought to jump into this world and like learn all these martial arts like boxing and taekwondo. But it was actually quite hard and pretty tough because at the end of the day it's very different and you have to hit. You know, it's not just a movement. It's like actually you truly have to hit it. And so I had to learn all these things and you know I had a lot of training. Like 2 months before we started shooting. So.
Wow. How many hours a day? I mean, how intensive was the training?
That was like 4 to 6. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It
What's
was
your
quite
favorite?
intense.
What did you learn from working with this director? He's so amazing.
I think he's really clever and he really has a vision and watching him work, you know, was really great. You can see his eye and like his idea of putting them into form and it's really inspiring and he was great to work with, really.
What about you?
what I learned from Matthew?
Yeah.
What I learned from Matthew is I taught him to trust me. You know, when I showed up with this characterization that I wanted to use, he was a little kind of put off by it for a moment, and then I started to talk to him about it and why I wanted to do it and what I thought it would add to the character. And then when I started to do it, he opened up to it, and before I knew it, he bought into it really, you know, well. But Matthew's very adaptable. He thinks on his feet, you know, and if he feels like he's made a mistake, he's not afraid to say he's made a mistake and we have to do this over again, let's do it this way. Or I like the way you think about that, because I had seen that as this other way, but now that I see you do it, I see where you're going with that, so that's okay. So he's very flexible and understanding, and you know, he's very willing to give you a shot to make something better.
Colin, was part of the appeal of this project to be a part of something, a film that we don't normally see you in?
I think you go mad if you try to think, you try to judge things according to what other people will expect or not expect to see. You just have to like the idea. And so meeting Matthew, I felt enthused. He's not quite like anybody else. You know, I went to meet him in a house which had no furnishings of any kind at all, and I think we sat on boxes. There was a plank for a table. And he spoke in his sort of uniquely, he had a kind of, I don't know, it had a childlike enthusiasm, but at the same time it had a sort of world-weary edge to it. But it was so individual and so single-minded, and also very, very honest about how I'm not going to do this unless I can make this work. He hadn't finished writing the script yet. You know, there's a problem I haven't solved in the second act, and if I can't make that work, this isn't going to happen. And this is about a year away already, at least, from shooting, and warning me about all sorts of things, including the burden of training that would be expected of me. So I'm going to need you to be in such great shape for this. You're going to be worked into the ground. You'll hate me at the end of it. Told me what he'd done to the actors on Kick-Ass and various films and how much training. And actually, I just felt exhilarated. It just wasn't run-of-the-mill stuff. It wasn't, here's the script, like it, don't like it, start in a few months. I just thought it was worth jumping in, and I was convinced this would be interesting.
And Taron, your character basically gets to be James Bond by the end of the film. I mean, is that, as a young actor, is that sort of a dream come true?
Of course it is. I mean, I think any young guy, or quite possibly girl too, you know, dreams of playing a superhero or playing a super spy, and there is something kind of slightly superhuman about what the Kingsmen do. So yeah, it's amazing, and it's like, you know, I think it's something that's often said, you know, that acting is basically like playing. It's like what you do when you're a kid, you know, when you think you're Superman and you jump in from one arm of the sofa to the other arm, except that someone has spent weeks and months designing and building the suits and the gadgets. You know, your cape is really there, your Superman cape is really there. So yeah, it's amazing. It's so thrilling, and it's kind of licensed to be a big kid again and really enjoy it.
And Sophie, your character is badass in her own right. What motivates her And can you talk a little bit about her relationship to Taron's character?
Yeah, I think what motivates her, especially when she gets to the Kingsman, is she realises what an antiquated institution it is, and Michael Caine's character, you know, the idea of having a woman in the Kingsman is almost abhorrent to them. Why would they be there? So that's a huge motivation to kind of prove people wrong and be seen in her own right, not just I'm going to be a female Kingsman, I'm going to be the Kingsman. Sex isn't a question. And her overcoming those challenges, and Eggsy overcoming his challenge of not being of the same social standing or maybe not having the same education. There's no way she'd form a bond with anyone else in that group because they're all incredibly ruthless. Their morals, they'd kind of trample over their own mother to do it, and she sees that they could be a match for each other in terms of companionship, and kind of they can rely on each other and they trust each other. But I think they respect that they both want it just as much as each other.
Sam, you always seem like you're having fun in movies, but this one in particular, it looked like your performance, you're eating it up. I mean, what was it about this movie that made you just have such a blast?
Well, I kind of felt like this movie was, you know, a very happening movie. And, you know, it's important for the director to let you know that it's okay to have fun. And Matthew let us know that early on. You know, it's like, just, you know, go for it. And his process became our process because he was having such a good time every day, you know, setting up the scenes and just telling us to do what we do, and watching him and watching the enthusiasm that he had for what we were about to do was kind of, you know, infectious, and we all caught it. So we had a great time doing it.
The lisp is fascinating to me. I
Really?
mean, it's so great. I mean, was that in the comic, or is that something you brought to it?
No, it's something I brought to it that I had to convince Matthew it was going to be okay to do.
Why was that important to the character?
I just wanted him to be unique, and I couldn't figure out a lot of different things that would make him unique. I mean, I could have, you know, talked in this, you know, hip-hop vernacular or been, you know, this very smart hip-hop guy, which is kind of okay, but I think we've seen that somewhere before. But I also think that there's a way to have a person who's that smart that people dismiss in an interesting sort of way just because he has some kind of infirmity, or he talks a certain way, which makes people go, oh, or think they're stupid.
Right.
And they can outsmart them. And I think Valentine's the kind of guy that will look at people and judge them by the way they judge the way he speaks, and use that as a weapon or a tool to get what he wants out of them. And it's just another way to create a unique, you know, Bond villain that stands out by himself.
It's so good.
You can't help but pay attention to him talking.
Yeah, and it's just so great. I mean, and your character is just as cool as Sam's. Talk about the physicality of that role, and, you know, what you had to do to prepare for it.
To prepare is training. I had to train for 3 months every day for and workshop all sort of different like fight genre, and like taekwondo. Essentially, that's what we ended up going for. But I had to do all sort of martial arts and boxing, but also I think, you know, she's very much a woman, and she's sexy, and she's all very much put together, and it was to find that in between of somebody, you know, very strong and powerful, lethal, but also didn't lose their femininity, you know.
Can you guys talk about working together and just generating that great on-screen chemistry?
I think it happened the first time we met. It was for a reading. Matthew was like, after training today, we're going to read together. And I walked in the room, and he gave me a big hug, and he called me his killer straight away. And I feel like the relationship started there straight away. And we didn't have much time to warm up to the characters as well before shooting. So, and yeah, he made it very easy also for me. You know,
it was important to let her know, you know, you come to work every day. Yes, some serious stuff going on here. We have things we have to do. We got to hit some marks. We got to say some lines. We got to know stuff. But the real important thing is we come in and we have a good time. And if we can't have fun, then nobody could have fun. Right?